Have you ever wondered why taxi drivers, of all people, seem to be less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease? It might sound strange at first, but new research is providing some fascinating insights into this phenomenon. We all know that Alzheimer's disease, one of the most debilitating and devastating neurological conditions, is still a mystery in many ways. There are known risk factors such as genetics, age, and lifestyle choices, but what if something as simple as navigating a busy city could be one of the keys to preventing it? Stick around as we dive into the latest findings, explore the relationship between the brain's hippocampus and memory, and examine how being a taxi driver could protect you from Alzheimer's disease. Understanding Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a progressive brain disorder that causes memory loss, confusion, and changes in behavior. The hallmark of Alzheimer's pathology is the buildup of amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles that interfere with neuron function. While there's still no definitive cure, some treatments can manage symptoms, but they do little to stop the disease's progression. That's why the focus has shifted to prevention. Scientists have long understood that certain factors can increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's, such as age, genetics, and lifestyle. However, they've also found some surprising clues pointing toward how we might lower our chances of developing the disease. One such clue comes from a source you might least expect: taxi drivers. But before we get into that, let's first discuss an important part of the brain that could hold the key to understanding this mysterious link: the hippocampus. The hippocampus, a crucial part of memory and navigation. The hippocampus is a small, seahorse-shaped structure deep in the brain that plays a crucial role in converting short-term memories into long-term ones. It's essential for spatial navigation, too, helping us navigate and remember complex environments. If you've ever seen the film Memento, you have an idea of what happens when the hippocampus malfunctions. For a real-life example, we can look at Henry Molaison, a man who underwent surgery to remove both his hippocampi to treat severe epilepsy. Post-surgery, he was no longer able to form new memories, which provides a unique insight into the hippocampus' role in memory. The hippocampus is also one of the first brain regions to deteriorate in Alzheimer's disease. This leads to early symptoms such as poor memory and spatial disorientation. But what if strengthening the hippocampus could protect against these symptoms? And how might this relate to taxi drivers? The study, Taxi Drivers and Their Enlarged Hippocampi in 2000, a groundbreaking study used MRI scans to examine the brains of 16 male taxi drivers in London, comparing their brain structures with 50 non-taxi drivers. What the researchers found was astonishing. Taxi drivers had significantly larger hippocampi than the control group. The more years a driver had been behind the wheel, the larger their hippocampus was. This makes sense because taxi drivers spend years navigating the complex streets of a sprawling city like London, constantly using their brains to create and recall spatial maps. This study raised an interesting question: could people with larger hippocampi be protected from Alzheimer's disease? If a person's hippocampus is constantly working out, could it reduce their risk of developing Alzheimer's, especially since this brain region deteriorates early in the disease? A new clue. Large-scale study on occupations and Alzheimer's risk. Fast forward to a new study published in the BMJ, which took a much broader look at the relationship between occupation and Alzheimer's risk. This study analyzed data from nearly 9 million people who died in the U.S. between 2020 and 2022 and had an occupation listed on their death certificates. The authors investigated 443 different occupations and their association with Alzheimer's disease. The results were intriguing. Taxi drivers, along with ambulance drivers, were among the occupations with the lowest rates of death from Alzheimer's disease, even after adjusting for factors such as age, sex, race, and education. The researchers suggested that the constant navigation required in these jobs could have a protective effect on the hippocampus, and therefore, might reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. Taxi drivers and their low Alzheimer's risk. What does it mean? Taxi drivers and ambulance drivers stand out in this study. While other transportation-related occupations, like bus drivers and airline pilots, did not show similar reductions in Alzheimer's risk, taxi drivers and ambulance drivers were significantly less likely to die from Alzheimer's, despite other risks they may face. For example, the mean age at death for taxi drivers was younger than that of other groups, but their Alzheimer's rates were still lower. Why is that? The most likely explanation is that the intense spatial navigation required by taxi drivers strengthens their hippocampus, which may protect them from the cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's disease. This finding supports the idea that the hippocampus plays a key role in Alzheimer's and that keeping it active could be a potential preventive measure. However, it's important to note that this study had its limitations. The researchers looked at individuals who had already died, which means the findings are based on a retrospective analysis. Additionally, while the study shows that taxi drivers have lower Alzheimer's rates, it doesn't prove causality. It's possible that people who are naturally less likely to develop Alzheimer's may be more inclined to become taxi drivers. Anomalies. Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Interestingly, while taxi drivers appear to have lower rates of Alzheimer's, the story is different for vascular dementia, the second most common type of dementia. Taxi and ambulance drivers actually have a higher incidence of vascular dementia. This suggests that while navigating a complex environment may protect the hippocampus and reduce Alzheimer's risk, it may not provide the same protection against other types of cognitive decline. So, should we all become taxi drivers? While the idea of becoming a taxi driver might sound tempting if it means protecting your brain from Alzheimer's, the solution is likely simpler than that. The key takeaway from this research is that staying mentally active and regularly engaging in complex spatial navigation could be protective for the brain. You don't need to become a taxi driver to do this. In fact, you can incorporate spatial challenges into your daily life. Instead of relying on GPS, try navigating without it, get lost on purpose, and challenge your brain to find your way home. By doing so, you may be giving your hippocampus the workout it needs to stay healthy and resilient in the face of aging. Lessons learned. Navigating for a healthier brain. There are several important lessons we can take from this study. 1. Stay mentally active. Engaging in activities that require navigation and spatial memory could help protect the hippocampus from deterioration, lowering the risk of Alzheimer's disease. 2. Challenge yourself. Like any muscle in the body, the brain benefits from regular exercise. 2. If you're not already, try pushing your cognitive boundaries by learning new things, solving puzzles, or navigating unfamiliar places without relying on digital aids. 3. Don't rely on the status quo. Just because you're not a taxi driver doesn't mean you can't adopt similar strategies. 3. In fact, small, everyday changes could make a big difference in keeping your brain sharp as you age. 4. Embrace lifelong learning. Keeping your brain engaged with learning new skills or navigating unfamiliar environments can help you build resilience against cognitive decline. Conclusion. Can the brain stay healthy with the right stimuli? As we've seen, taxi drivers may have lower Alzheimer's risk thanks to their hippocampus getting regular exercise from constant navigation. While the study's findings are intriguing, they also suggest that we can all benefit from activities that keep our brains active and engaged. Whether it's through challenging mental tasks, trying out new hobbies, or simply navigating without GPS, there are simple ways to help protect your brain. The key to preventing Alzheimer's disease could lie in how we use and train our brains over time. Just like muscles, the more we work them, the stronger they become. So, the next time you're about to hop in your car or take a walk, consider navigating with a little more attention and curiosity. It might just be the best thing you can do for your brain. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing and sharing it with others who might be interested in how simple daily habits can help protect the brain from Alzheimer's disease. Remember, it's never too early to start taking care of your hippocampus.